Behind every great video is a winning script.
Pretty much like mainstream kind of Asian foods. Oh, he's dead. Okay.
The thing about American Chinese food is the fact that I know it gets disrespected, but when you actually look up the history of American Chinese food, you kind of realize that, oh, I should really keep my mouth shut.
Are you alive?
Yes, I am.
Yay!
Yeah. Sorry for a little bit of delay there, but
I didn't know you were starting at 6th. So when I saw the announcement, I just went, oh, now! Oh!
Get out!
Alright, let me just make sure everything is good to go on here. Alright, so, just as a, heads up real quick, because I've been getting kind of annoyed with, the, the sound delay that I was getting the past few streams, I have switched out how I do the audio now, and it seems to be working fine on my end. When I was sharing it on Discord, though, sometimes there would be a weird, like, staticky thing that would happen when I was just testing it out earlier. If that happened, I can't hear it on my end, kind of deal, but if you guys hear it in stream, let me know about that right away, and then I'll switch back to the older method, kind of deal, if that ends up getting into there. Otherwise, things seem to be all good on my end, kind of deal, so...
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I will play, because I mistimed it, I will get up for, a dinner.
Okay, I'll take over during that time. So, yeah, shall we continue on?
Onwards, we found Jigoku's butt ass.
Yeah.
This man hiding in a trunk.
The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street.
I would be tired.
Oh my gosh, I got food and everything.
Alright, hang on. Okay, this is a biggie.
Eating dinner while dinner.
No, I'm chewing on gummies!
Gummies!
You caught me chewing on gummies! It's like, oh, okay. We have returned, my dear fellows!
Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help.
Think nothing of it. I believe you had an even more wearing day than Mikatoba and I know.
You could say that. We're on the brink of death in court earlier.
Death? You were gonna die? So this prosecutor Asogi had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say?
Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. He's a lot more bitter now, is a way of describing it. I think we can say that.
He made terrible dad jokes.
Years of pent-up aggression is all, and the wall is down. He was almost there. Then he got amnesia. Then he went to China, and then he somehow made it back to England. Where after months of not remembering what he was, he finally remembered. He just went.
Goddamn chicken.
It's like at this point he's through.
I got my delayed from trip to Britain from a cat, a fucking cat.
Think he ever entertained the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin?
Well, nevertheless, you must introduce me. After all, I've only ever met the young man as a corpse.
Well, all this started almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth of what really happened.
Here's the static on our end.
Oh, okay. So chat, did you hear any static at that point? Was there any weirdness there, or?
Well, it's back to normal now.
Okay, I just wanted to. Okay, didn't hear anything. Okay, if you guys do hear weird static, let me know, kind of deal, but...
It's hopefully just a Discord thing.
Yeah, alright. Okay, it's sounding like it, so... About the motivation for what he described himself as a great detective's lie.
Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France.
Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what news of Judge Goku?
We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives there have lots of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikatoba, this must be quite the shock for him.
Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home.
What is it?
Surely you haven't forgotten already. I put upon you for the matter only yesterday.
You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well.
Oh, you had a reply already?
What was so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes?
We can tell, but to be fair, as we see in this game, you make more money than Sholmes does. Mr. Sholmes has the notoriety. You have the paychecks. Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for the involved conversation at present.
Well, that's good news, because supper is ready, everyone!
Ah, and what a feast it is! If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already.
They can afford that entire goddamn turkey, but they have no money for rent at all? Okay.
Iris's paychecks.
Yeah. Joe Shows a poor one. Iris gets the checks. Mikitoba gets the checks. Ryunosuke gets checks from Japan. He's the only one he's the only one with no checks. Roast beef, kipper, stew, steak, and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding.
Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up.
In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping
Pheasant.
a pheasant as well.
Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there.
Wherever not. Are we set places this evening?
Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy.
For me?
That's right. I made this especially for you, Professor Mickey.
I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you.
He calls him Mickey.
Oh no.
It's a shame, really.
What do you mean?
Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh! Iris, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened in the conversation you had after I tricked you all thinking I left.
What?
And you knocked over the entire table and now all the food is gone. The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from over 10 years ago. But in actuality, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikitoba are Iris's father.
Sholmes.
Yes, about that, Iris. You know, I
know. You can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. The pheasant in byway is an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping.
Oh, no, that's quite alright.
So why don't I get any apologetic pheasant?
So just who is Iris's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today.
So then, let us dine, while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot.
A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious.
Eat as much as you like. There's always seconds.
This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About the telegram from Japan, and about Kazuma. Can't let this opportunity go to waste.
What are you doing?
Sir?
In this particular case, I've seen people sit on couches weirdly too. Can't really judge him.
He's pouting because he didn't get his pheasant.
I want my pheasant. Why did you give me my pheasant?
Real quick, I actually want to try something real fast. I just want to try sharing a different screen. Are you, this is just for the Discord people. Are you guys able to hear audio through this one right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this might fix the audio issues, possibly, so...
By the way, Patrick, before we continue, while this is quickly in my mind, did you know that Michelangelo is banned for Nickelodeon All-Stars?
Oh, yes, I am very aware, kind of deal.
Yo, Michelangelo has an infinite!
Even banned Michelangelo.
This is a weird statement to come out of your mouth. Michelangelo, the turtle for TMNT. Yo, he has an infinite!
Alright, Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing?
Oh, the audio's still doing it.
No.
Oh, that's bad.
Oh, it's worse? Okay, never mind. Let's go back to the older window then.
Yeah, for a sec, I thought I was living La Vida Loca.
Sholmes, your depression is contagious.
Surely it's abundantly clear that I was brooding over Mikotomo's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes.
Huh.
Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy.
Even though I played the role of father to you for far longer.
Mr. Sholmes, can I discuss some things with you?
Certainly, my dear fellow, I found myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. No doubt, you're hungry to learn more of my deep love of game.
I can probably contain my curiosity on that one.
You needn't look at me in that fashion.
In what fashion?
It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss.
Sir.
My god. That was bad. So, what was on the telegram you received back from Japan then?
Ah, this? I think my lucky stars had arrived in time. Record found as it indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson.
What? Those 4 names! We've come across that exact list before! Yeah! They came up in an unforgettable case last spring. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be a masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British government secrets to foreign states. In exposing that means by which secrets were being leaked, we deciphered the fragment of a message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find those names out until the case was over, and we didn't get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was the information had been sent by someone from the British government to someone in Japan. So, why are the names coming up again now?
Yes. Where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes?
I have here the message I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo.
I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature.
You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such enormous task for you? Or
One more time he appears!
And in my name? I wonder what guise he opted for this time.
My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand.
Anyway, the list of names was found in Seshiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was...
It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient.
I don't believe it.
But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies.
I did formulate a hypothesis about that. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it.
Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Bureau. It was for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us, your great detective's lie.
I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost.
What?
I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan.
His remains, you mean?
Precisely, Mrs. Otto. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead.
You mean...
That the arrangement between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accompanied on the study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least.
Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Cosmo from coming from Britain? That's why you...
Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England?
So, you manipulated me?
I often remark on the extraordinary list to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you were rise to the challenge for your late friend.
I don't believe it.
But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Good question.
Actually, good question.
Yeah.
Naturally, I did not allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought.
See to remember, Mr. Sato and I rather strong words for her.
Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure.
I wonder if she made it to America then.
I'm afraid I simply can't comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Cosmo-san from reaching Britain?
The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy, you see.
Huh?
An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand.
An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. There was no room for doubting with your instructions to this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that Judge Shioku's office should be searched, so you obviously knew that's where this list of names would be found.
K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Grection, J. Wilson.
But we only learned of those names just over 6 months ago now. And only because they appeared as part of top secret government communications that were leaked.
That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets. Because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping communication between the British and Japanese governments.
You're perpetually doing what? How?
Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Sherlock Holmes, but he has designs on knowing it.
Oh my, Mr. Sholmes. What a fabulous line.
Now, one month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan, Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. As soon as I learned of that incident, an hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partially correct and partially mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow.
Mr. Sholmes, please. Tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy in which all had somehow connected.
As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names because, you see, there was someone else on that list who I believed to be recently deceased.
What? Who?
A Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes.
Oh, I see.
But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed, and accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list.
Kayasogi and T. Gregson.
Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Asogi were to stay away from Britain.
Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead.
Exactly.
So, you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes?
Oh yes, Sholmes and I exchanged correspondence for years. I recounted many tales of Sogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course.
So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know.
Oh, Iris.
I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but... we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No.
But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis.
A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ah, yes. You mean about Asa Shin, I presume.
Oh, of course!
Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assumed name Giselle Brett.
I'm glad you keep it up, my dear fellow. But I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that that I formed surrounding those four names was completely turned lopsy.
What? Topsy?
Topsy. The cross on the T didn't appear. It was all pixelated.
What do you mean by what do you mean when you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes?
I have believed all four names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken.
Very much so. Asa Shin was a killer. So this telegram is both a list of victims and killers, is it?
Indeed, it was seen that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front.
Which would of course explain why no motive could be determined for her actions.
So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asa Shin is because he was the target of an assassination.
And forearmed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective.
What do you mean?
Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the four who subsequently became a visiting student.
Wait, you mean...
But of course, a name you know only too well.
You mean... Kazuma?! He did say in court earlier today.
Oh boy.
Fuck.
Young Mr. Asogi accepted that mission a year ago now.
Surely not.
In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange.
An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have gotten involved in something like that?
So, in the first case, at the very end of the trial, Jigoku said something to Kazuma, which pretty much essentially, remember your mission, Kazuma. And Kazuma's just like, yeah. Naruto was like, I wonder what's that all about.
Could it be murder or anything?
And now you know, which also blew my mind. Just went, yo, they had this plan from the beginning.
So, the list is basically saying assassins from both England and Japan, kind of deal. For
the list is like an assassination exchange. Asa Shin was to kill John Wilson, and therefore Kazuma was to kill Gregson.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Oh boy.
Let's assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassination exchange.
So to begin with, the British assassin was dispatched as a visiting student in Japan, where she kills her target. And then, the Japanese assassin was dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange.
But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruto, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yeah. Such jurisdiction should not be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that this was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels?
These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked up not by a common motive, but by a contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated. Yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That association and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot.
But wait a minute, Sholmes! If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Seshiro Jigoku at all. That would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson! What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? So Judge Shijoku wasn't actually the mark?
Yes, that's exactly what it would mean.
I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe.
Mr. Sholmes.
I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow.
Yeah, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention to us that at the Great Exhibition that he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him.
But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seemed. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last.
This is too much to take in.
Alright, everybody, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day.
this is just Iris, what the... what the fuck?
I just want to have a nice dinner.
I just wanted to have a nice dinner and everything, and then you guys had to make a talk about murder.
Roxas, you're like 3 cases late on that at this point. It's, yeah.
Yeah, whoops.
Alright, yeah. Okay, that line was read, yeah.
Isn't it early? I mean, look at the time! Yay, happy music!
Quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow.
What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to the hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember.
Is it? A little bit sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy,
A lot of people do.
because then Susie would have been my big sister.
I'm sorry, Iris.
She can still be your big sister, just not by blood, our family.
I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. You were? But someone like me would be worthy. I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So, you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Runu to the floor? Yes, of course. It would be my pleasure.
I can't see your face, Susanna. Where'd you go? Didn't quite have to agree so readily.
Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you can be my big brother if you want, Bruno.
Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother.
Well done, Iris. You must always be mindful of feelings. I raised you so well.
Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally.
Right. I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now, because it's for my big brother and sister.
What's all this talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what?
You'll just have to wait and see.
Oh.
Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance.
Well, do my very best, of course. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings came to a crucial turning point, exposing new truths while posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Shigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassinations plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an ever greater darkness all of a sudden, but at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadily behind me.
This game is cute.
I like this game.
Yeah, we're continuing on because that's a really, really short.
Yeah.
To dinner!
Yep.
Now that all of that's been thrown in the open, I forgot to mention this before, but thinking back in case 2, I always wonder, like, Sholmes, did you know who Susanoo was the entire time? You, sir? How much did you motherfucker?
I'm going to assume because he's been talking to Migatoma this whole time.
Yeah, I would assume probably a lot considering, daughter. So.
Yeah, essentially. So this man has been playing us the entirety of case 2, motherfucker.
Then what I wonder is, alright, Sholmes. If Kazuma did a trip on a cat, like a stupid dum-dum who hates chicken nuggies, what was your plan to get Kazuma out? Also,
Matt Sholmes must be really lucky when he realized, oh my gosh, he has a stowaway friend in the wardrobe. I can use him.
God, Sholmes really lucked out in case 2. I was like, alright, I gotta come up with this great plan, and then he sees the wall for him, he just went, I can work with this.
little too perfect, honestly, for his plan.
Also, the fact he probably knew Naruhodo was innocent since the beginning of case 2, be like, it's like. Also, if you focus on his the actual last deduction, you notice he actually had the earring on him the entire time. So this man knew.
Oh yeah, no, that's the whole point. He knew everything he was doing. It was all to prevent Kazuma from coming over to Japan for what he thought was going to be his last trip.
Mm-hmm.
It was he was in some ways it is kind of wrong what he done, but the more you think about it, the more he was just I'm trying to save lives here. I'm literally trying to save some lives here. I'm sorry I have to manipulate you, but if it means that you guys get to live, then hey, I'll hold this L if it means I get a W later. And that W being you guys are alive.
Alright, Jason, you can go grab your dinner now. So alright. Before we begin today, I have a brief announcement. As the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that this well-known Reaper is actually an organization illegally executing its own brand of justice. And the discovery that the respected Yarn Inspector was at the heart until he perished in an assassination plot. Well, I say all members of the judiciary here present on this occasion, that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, will you undertake this trial to resolve them and pursue the truth to the bitter end? Resolve. Yes, that's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire. The defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asogi permitted to continue in his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in a plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone leading the prosecution. I submitted a writing petition to Lord Strongheart, requesting that the judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life, for the last 10 years, has been leading up to this 1 day. Kazuma.
I am not throwing away my
Shot. I am not throwing away my shot.
Shot.
Whatever
in other words, Kazuma asked, hey, so can we do it the day after tomorrow? Yeah, sure.
Can I do the makeup exam? Whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare the same, Reaper! Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. I get the distinct impression we're heading to a very dangerous territory.
Oh, like we weren't already. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this really even Cosmo-sama standing before us?
As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted this prosecution's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume.
Welcome to Ace Attorney Chronicles.
Yeah. Yes, my lord! In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barak von Zeeks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin! As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls its first witness to the stand. Bring Seshiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that steely resolve, because this is going to test its limit. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Game's a bit
delay?
delayed. It did get delayed? What the hell?
Oh dear.
Okay, then I will head back to the older method then. Hold on, guys. Let me just...
Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, thank you.
Yay!
Alright, and then...
I say letting us know like I could do anything about it. Oh, hey, the stream's delayed. Don't worry, Pat. I got it. Let me just open up my OBS. Wait a minute.
Alright. So it was you who issued this, was it? You're Sabonia? I did what was necessary. Oh, well, look at the young man you've become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take that tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seshiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge in the Empire of Japan. 16 years ago, this man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he also currently is Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, aware of Mr. Jigoku and preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science Symposium as a representative of his country. I hear he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Alego-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in those negotiations. I put my all into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, if I may ask. Well, I never. Fancy the young muttering student turning up here in all places.
Alright, I'm back.
You acquitted me yourself, and now I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, and full of self-importance like your friend across the courtroom, I see. You came here to London by invitation of the International Forensic Science Symposium. But then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took a flight to France. Took flight? I have to object to your phrase. Then explain yourself. What exactly were the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this. I am sorry to say. I decline to comment. What? Leaving the country prematurely when I invited a guest may be questionable etiquette. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I cannot be bound to testify.
Unrelated, you say?
I appreciate the respected police inspector who been killed, for I may offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I'd obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. As such, I'm in no position to testify. It's simple as that.
And so you run from all of this.
I beg your pardon?
This case is more far-reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It has ties to another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now.
A year ago in Japan. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson, you mean?
That's right, and you, Judge Goku, are at the heart of both cases. Brandon, I don't agree on that one. He's just saying, like, look, I didn't know the guy at all, so I can't provide any testimony to you guys, kind of deal. The defense has evidence to prove it.
Well, Mianosuke, I see for the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this through to the very end too. Let's see your evidence then. What proof do you have that Setsuo Jikoku is involved in this case?
This telegram detailing a communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately 1 year ago. The communications contained 4 names: Kei Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. You little... Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Goku. What? How on earth did you?
What's this all about? Why is my name on that list?
This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. Kei Asogi and A. Shin are the names of assassins.
No.
A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett, but her real name was Aza Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain.
A. Shin and her victim J. Wilson.
And the murder that just took place here in London was the counterpart to that crime. An assassination sent from Japan, also a visiting student, Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police officer Tobias Gregson.
Kei Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in the other.
What exactly is the defense suggesting?
These 2 cases of murder, one that took place in Britain and one in Japan, were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as a form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is proof of this international contract to kill!
What? What?
The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku! In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you!
Judge Goku, what's this all about?
And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you accepted the assassin's mission. But the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector of Scotland Yard, as shown by the name on the killing contract!
Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I was ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Seiichiro Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you!
You deliberately avoided saying a name?
Damn. Got you there.
Yeah. The defense's claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that the very idea seems utterly absurd. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what do you have to say for yourself?
His silence only gives proof to his guilt.
There's another very important new development that brings to light. There's now a distinct possibility that the scene of the Inspector Gregson's actual murder was in the witness's cabin aboard the SS Groose.
Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now. To refuse would put you in contempt of court. There's no need for quite a vicious stare, young man. Very well then. As a parting gift for you all, I'll tell you everything I know.
It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassination exchange and the events of the night of the 31st October. Present your formal testimony now.
As you wish, my lord. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that meant the young man was unable to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside my cabin at all times. If there had been a shot fired, the crewmen would have heard it, so clearly I can't be involved. So you admit it then? As communication suggests, there really was an assassin exchange agreement between Britain and Japan. A political endeavor of the highest levels, not something I can discuss here.
To use such a worthy practice as foreign studies to coerce somebody to commit murder. That's the most appalling thing I ever heard. I'm sassy, not Stan.
Appalling? Well, it's easy to judge.
Pardon?
Asogi had a reason for taking his soul to that British inspector, you know. What? Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Counsel?
Kazuma-sama?
What?
Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, Then tell the court to identify your counterpart in Britain. I'm not obliged to divulge that information.
As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admit that I accepted the mission, but on the night the plan was to be executed, I backed out. In short, this assassin exchange that the defense has identified is unrelated to the events of this case.
The crucial point is this. Your police inspector cannot have been perished aboard the steamship in Dunkirk. Because if he'd been shot in the cabin, it's inconceivable that a member of the crew wouldn't have heard it.
That's right. Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room on Fresno Street. And the perpetrator of the crime was the Reaper, Baroque von Zeeks. The prosecution's accusation remains unchanged. Well, no, Asogi didn't have Naruhodo.
No,
hold on to the sword.
Asogi had memory loss at that point. Again, Roxas is stuff that's already been explained in the game long ago at this point. So
yeah, by that point when Naruhodo got the sword, he was presumed dead. Susanoo gave the sword to Naruhodo to hold on to. And Naruhodo remembered that, a conversation about the sword with Asogi, so he kept it as a memento to what he believed his deceased friend.
Yeah.
To think that a seemingly innocent foreign exchange program was a facade for such Machiavellian dealings.
Big word there.
Clearly, it's a plot only a government minister and high-ranking judge such as the witness could hope to execute.
Well, I seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything.
Be that as it may, it is not the place of this court to pursue this villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder of Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on that point, counsel?
Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. Alrighty. Shu Takumi.
Hold it!
A year ago, when Kazuma was still in Japan then. Correct, it was the examination center for occupants for study tour when I approached him.
I'll never forget it. I remember exactly what you said. You just came out and asked me forthright if I considered traveling to Britain on an assassination mission.
Surely not.
I thought it was a joke at first, of course, but then it was made clear to me that if I didn't accept, I wouldn't be considered for the study tour.
So you agreed to it just for that? I mean, I know how much you wanted to study in England, but assassination? The Empire of Japan has accepted the proposal from the British Empire at the time. An agreement to send the student from each country to the others to deem cultural understanding and friendship. But behind the scenes, the chosen students were to be given assassination missions. I had no choice but to accept the proposal that originated from the British counterpart.
Why? Why didn't you expose the plot then and there?
Britain acknowledges no part in these alleged misbegotten dealings. I advise you not to make spurious allegations for Minister Jigoku.
As a witness, I am bound to tell the truth, my lord. Anyway, I picked Asogi and explained the details of the plan to him.
You can go study, but you have to do murder first.
Why, Kazuma? Why did you pick him for the assassination? He was the most capable of all the applicants, and in addition, I knew his desire to travel to Britain was very strong.
Plus, he always carried around that sword with him.
I mean,
no one else did that.
It's a pretty neat one. In fact, it was almost more than a desire. It was his whole purpose in life. Yes, as his best friend, I can certainly attest to that. The way he threw himself into his studies, the way he pursued becoming a qualified lawyer. It was all ultimately for one single goal, being accepted on a study tour to Britain.
And of course, we know the reason behind that. He was determined to find out for himself the truth about his father, Genshin Asogi.
There's nothing I would have done to get here. Be that agreeing to assume the role of an assassin, or betraying people's trust.
Well, you certainly did a fine job betraying me, Asogi. But why was Inspector Craigston the target? I have no idea. Those were the owners from Britain. I was in no position to question them.
What did I just say? I said we were not involved in this!
I'm telling the truth, man.
You have no idea. Really? I find that hard to believe.
Oh, do you?
Judge Jigoku was once a visiting student here in Britain himself, of course. Perhaps he has some connection with Inspector Gregson from that time?
The defense really ought to catch up. With what? With the fact that the assassination exchange has absolutely nothing to do with this case under scrutiny here. Yes, I've already admitted to recruiting Asogi.
Hold it!
I presume you're referring to the incident that occurred during Kazuma's passage to Britain in January?
By the way, I hear the static again. I like to think that it's your audio to the DC, but now you're just your OBS or whatever is grabbing the audio and go, no, you're not. You're back on the leash. Back on the leash.
That's really weird then. Let me just try restarting the Discord stream now. The awful tragedy that took place on that steamship. I just want to make sure, chat, can you guys hear that sack that they're talking about? Or are you all good on that kind of deal? Thank you, Game Master. Wood arrived at the Ministry some 2 weeks ago after the ship's departure from our shores. The visiting student had been killed, but his body had somehow gone missing in Hong Kong. The news was wired from a detective I placed on the ship to accompany the assassin. Obviously, Kazuma didn't actually die at all, but he did lose his memory, including all the details about his special mission.
Did you not consider dispatching another assassin at that point?
That was impossible, simply because that black-clad young student over here had already put himself forward as Sogi's replacement, and there was no way to stop him from reaching Britain. My hands were completely tied.
So Mr. Shome's strategy worked perfectly.
He
You saved the day, Naruhodo!
predicted
Yay!
everything would happen.
Months later, my memory returned. But I never intended to go through the assassination mission anyway.
So you were playing me from the outset, were you? Is that it?
Yeah, I get played. I assume to be guilty of that crime that of taking someone else's life. I was prepared to do whatever I had to in order to get myself here to Britain. Literally, swimming across the ocean. I was prepared for it. I practiced.
I got a mean breaststroke, alright?
This line of questioning has gone on long enough. All the court should be concerned about in the testimony given by this witness are details of his relationship with Inspector Gregson and the victim's murder.
In that case, as I've already made perfectly clear, I had no connection to this man or his death.
And you have some means of sustaining this plea.
Hold it!
Outside your cabin in the first class area of the SS Grush, you mean? Yes, that's right. Not least because was the murder of a student passenger earlier in the year, I imagine. The liner operates have taken to posting a crewman outside every first-class cabin door.
I can confirm the presence of the crewman guard myself.
What do you mean?
Because I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk that night, I witnessed it with my own eyes. There was a well-built crewman standing guard directly in front of the door to the witness cabin.
At that particular time, of course, I'd gone to the ship's dining room for dinner.
The inspector and I asked the crewman to allow us into the cabin while we waited for Judge Goku's return.
I suppose Inspector Gregson was there in some capacity as the Reaper. He was intending to take the witness's life.
Exactly. As I said numerous times now, I had no intention of killing anyone.
So the crewman let the two potential assassins in the cabin he was supposed to be guarding? Not the most convincing of centuries, really.
In truth, those were my thoughts too.
Good point.
Like, to be honest, you're right.
Well played.
We really just walked in. He had no reason to let us in, but he did anyway. I'm surprised he didn't get fired. But anyway, I stayed to talk with Inspector Gregson for a short while. And then I left him there and made my way off the ship alone.
Was the guard still at the door when you went?
Yes. He glared at me as I walked past.
You see? That proves it.
Hold it!
The crewman who was standing directly outside your cabin door, you mean? That's right. A muscular man with a permanent grin expression on his face. He didn't move from that spot. To be honest, I thought it was a miserable fellow. But as it happens, he's a vital witness now!
There's no doubt that Gregson was killed by a gunshot. And it's inconceivable that a crewman standing just outside the cabin door wouldn't have heard that.
But wait, what about the ship's enormous steam engines? The noise of them could have drowned out the sound of the gun being fired.
Sadly, young judicial assistant, that wouldn't wash.
Oh?
You will recall that my cabin was a first-class area on the ship, which of course is the quietest. Don't imagine for a moment that it's anything like a steerage where the judicial assistants go.
I didn't mean...
But a hole in the wall made by a bullet was found in your cabin, Judge Goku. That's compelling evidence that a gun was fired there.
What's that? A bullet hole?
Oh yes, you're talking about what the detective uncovered in the wall yesterday, I presume. That was obviously a rotten panel eaten out by a woodworm. No doubt that he didn't find an actual bullet.
Yes, a woodworm eating through metal.
That's the hole in this argument. Sadly, I was unable to arrange for the crewmen to be brought back to Britain with me. But obviously, if a gun had been fired in my cabin on the night in question, as the defense implies, I would have been arrested on the spot and would have never made it to Britain in the first place.
Very true. The witness's logic is sound. Since no gunshot was heard from the witness's cabin on the night in question, we must assume that the witness is telling the truth.
I'm glad you've seen sense, my lord. No, Kazuma's already admitted to talking an incredible assassination plot, but even so, hearing it confirmed by somebody else is still a real shock.
It's unforgivable. Using Kazuma-sama's feelings to manipulate him into agreeing to such a despicable plan?
But I think Kazuma manipulated Judge Jigoku too. He completely double-crossed him.
Oh dear. It's hard not to see that as a stroke of brilliance on Kazuma-sama's part.
One way or another, though, Gregson ended up dead. I really think that the murder must have happened aboard the steamship.
So you mean...
Judge Jigoku must be lying.
I know I shouldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment, but you must destroy him, Mr. Naruhodo.
Okay.
Tear that bitch apart.
So
check your evidence.
Yeah, it's gotta be that one. See the little things all over the place, don't you? It's part of the top of the pocket watch that you twist to set time, isn't it?
It's called the crown, I believe. The watch should be quite useless without one.
The crown? That's like what sits on top of a monarch's head? That's a very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually...
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo?
If this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen the monarch around somewhere with a very bare head.
If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have.
Probably should check the watch too.
Yep.
Yeah, as a reminder, you are at the point of the game where you will probably have to look at your evidence a few times for new statements.
Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Sato?
I feel surely I know exactly what will fit here.
Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing!
We're about to see the little round component. It's actually part of Inspector Gregson's broken pocket watch.
Really? I was just thinking precisely that too!
Mind link! Yay!
Woo!
A perfect fit.
I knew it! Alright, perhaps you knew it.
I'll make a note of this new information at once.
Just make it... Following the... all crew members were required to assemble on the main deck for review.
But
Oh, that's interesting.
Hey, Jigoku.
Objection!
Yeah, take that!
Bam!
Yes, as the court heard, there was a crewman posted outside Judge Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that contradictory to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times.
What?
I have here a notice of a particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard the steamship on the 31st. Where did you get that? It's evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. You were acquitted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Sholmes again.
Sounds like a natural enemy.
God damn it. I'll get you next time, Herlock Sholmes.
Oh, that
Next
Herlock
time.
Sholmes. Always going through my garbage.
I mean, I would have the actual Sherlock Holmes would definitely go through dumpster diving for anything you can find. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m., and for a period of 20 minutes, all crewmen aboard the SS Grus were to gather on deck for an evacuation drill.
All crewmen were away from their posts?
And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. By the way, just doing another audio check into chat, or if we're all good.
Audio check.
Yeah,
Audio
if
check.
things are synced up and stuff like that. If not, I think I have one more thing I can try. In summary, Judge Shigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime! Ugh!
Objection. A 20-minute window of opportunity. That's an excellent fight, Ryunosuke. But it amounts to nothing.
Why?
Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show his testimony to be false. Your accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel?
Inspector Gregson was killed in Judge Shigoku's cabin that night. I'm certain of it. Because the defense has evidence to prove it.
You will present the evidence for the defense at once, counsel. What proof do you have that the victim's life was taken in Jigoku's cabin on the 31st October?
By the way, guys, audio check, like, I need responses, please. Is the audio in sync or not? And stuff like that.
Ding, 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 make sure.
Yeah. Judge Shigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday.
What is that? A crown of a pocket watch?
A pocket watch? And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we know that it was treasured.
Oh, we got one response from Brandon.
Okay.
He says, I think it is.
Alright. Is missing precisely that part.
It can't be.
Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit for the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Now, the fact that it was retrieved from Judge Shigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch almost certainly broke there. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. In the cabin occupied by you, Judge Shigoku! Well, your razor sharp on you, you young murderer.
That's my only power I have over you. Expertly maneuvered, Ryunosuke.
Yo, fam.
Ah, fuck.
If you want to Yelp, 4 out of 5 stars. I will rate you 4 out of 5 stars.
Wait, why do I have a star off? I don't like where this is going. Oh no.
Your argument is.
I love how you said, I was like, when he praised you, you're like, oh no.
Just because if I know this man well enough, I know that the snide remark is coming out. Just a little bit. Fuck.
Man, your argument, plausible. Entirely implausible. At first.
See, that's exactly why, guys!
But rather like this pocket watch, it's full of cracks.
What?
And I believe Judge Shigoku feels the same way.
I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I had known it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare the world of your ridiculous bombast.
I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony.
When you hear what actually happened in my cabin that night, you'll notice the pitfall you've stumbled into.
Prior to your renewed testimony, I'd like to clarify one point. fact that this part of the victor's watch was discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume.
Yes, I do.
Very well then. You may proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard the ship of the evening of the 31st October.
Of course. As I am a man of the law, I have no intention of obstructing justice.
Liar! You've been obstructing justice this whole time!
Once I actually agree with
Obstructing
him.
justice.
I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustached Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. I soon took him in as an Ipson throw, though he couldn't wait to run away after that.
What are you buying? You buying this gun? You wanna buy this gun?
Get yeeted.
I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It had nothing to do with the murder. The inspector was clearly killed after returning to Britain, because his body was found in London.
I Panseo.
A common judicial martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavy for his watches to take.
So, Vinosuke Naruhodo. I imagine you can see the 1 star in your 4 out of 5.
What?
The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness's cabin is in no way proves that the victim's murder took place there.
I've no doubt the inspector intended to kill me, but he didn't manage to pull the trigger.
I like that clip name. Oh no, he's praising me.
Oh no, he's praising me!
Oh no, a compliment!
We praise you out of court, thanks. But he praised you in court. No!
Oh no, hold on, your hair looks nice today. Oh no!
Oh fuck it, now
No,
but he's going to say I have a flat ass now. Wait for it, here it comes. Every time he
No, hold on. You have nice hair today, but you have a really skinny butt.
Do you need relationship counseling?
That would imply
I
there's a
wanna-
relationship
man.
left.
Yeah, I would have called this a bump in the road. I just wasn't expecting that. Man, gray hair, tiny butt.
Every time he compliments me, I'm just waiting for something right fucking after.
Yes.
Oh, no wonder you can fit in the suitcase. You're not dummy thick.
I think any roommates I had in the ass were completely torn apart by that wardrobe sitting in there for over 2 months.
So you blame the wardrobe, but not your genetics. I see. A little self-conscious about your butt, are we? He has a perfect face for this conversation too. I see. A little self-conscious, are we?
I really hope this thing isn't genetic and runs down in my family line or anything like that.
That's getting highlighted later.
Oh yeah. Yes, because he was merely the tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears to make perfect sense as far as I can tell.
Let me express my deep gratitude for your understanding, my lord. But this testimony holds. Judge Goku will be deemed to have no involvement in the case.
Well, counsel, I really see no reason for wasting precious court time here on a cross-examination.
I beg to differ, my lord! Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander it. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten.
In that case, proceed, Mr. Naruhodo. I will use every right I will in court. You're an embarrassment. One judge. Alright, go for it.
And we
Another
wonder
judge.
why
You're
our
an
country
embarrassment.
we wonder why our country barely has any defense lawyers, Mr. Sano. Oh my god.
I would have put this lawyer on the battle pass.
You know what? Maybe I don't want to go back to Japan.
I don't want to go back to Japan. You know what? Maybe
I don't think I'm gonna take Professor Mikotoma's offer at all. I really don't think so.
Okay, I certainly feel the static is a lot harsher on this one.
That's weird, because, like,
Like, they both have static, but this like, setup in particular, it's a lot more harsher.
That's weird,
well,
like,
this static comes, like, this one comes with, like, an echo to the static. Like,
Yeah.
you, like, not you echoing or us echoing, the static itself is echoing for like a second, and then it goes away.
That's, That's really weird, because, like...
It's noticeable, but not botherable.
I think it might just be a... Because, like, I went back to the older setup, so... I don't know what's going on there at that point.
But at the very least, it's not disturbing stream, so it's not
yeah,
that big of a deal.
So... It might just be a weird thing for Discord, right now, kind of deal. It might be fixed by tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe it's just because, like, I was streaming with that initial setup, and, like, now it doesn't like it, kind of deal. So, we'll mess around with it after stream, kind of deal, because we are kind of nearing the end for this one. But obviously, you're talking about Inspector Gregson? Yes, though at the time I didn't know the man's name. As there were no time for introductions, I valued my life over manners. By which you mean that the inspector was here to assassinate you, I suppose. That was certainly the impression given by the gun pointing in my direction. But I'd never seen a muzzle of the revolver shake about so much in my life. Anyone would think the man had never shot anyone before. Believe it or not, most of us haven't. Anyway, there was no time to call for help with the crewmen at the door, so I dealt with the man myself. Wait. I want to inspect this thing again. Anything extra in this gun that we haven't examined before? Nah, doesn't look like it. Okay.
Wait, examine the bullets, like, the bullet casing again. I just want to have a reread of the dialogue. Oh, it's the same dialogue.
Okay. Because my thing is that this is this gun is probably the one that Gregson was actually using, kind of deal. Imagine this was a This is the major one that I'm suspicious of. But there's no evidence that proves the victim ever returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think that idea of yours through, stripling. What? If the inspector was killed on the steamship in France, how on earth would he have gotten back to Britain? While people die, their bodies remain in the same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Well, then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Carrying a corpse off of a ship in your arms would raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? Well, yes, that's true, but...
All passengers' luggage is inspected when it is unloaded from arriving vessels. And I would like to think that the border police would query the corpse of an English gentleman as hand luggage. If the murder had taken place aboard the ship, you would imagine the body would have been disposed of at sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught by attempting to transport the body back to Britain.
That's killed the idea then.
But perhaps not.
Mrs. Sato?
We heard that the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny by the crew members posted to guard them. Which would mean that the culprit has no opportunity to dispose the body in the sea.
Yes, that's true! So transporting the body to Britain may have been the only viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought I'd been perfectly clear, but it seems I'm going to have to explain it in words you can understand. I think I ought to alter my testimony with your consent, of course, my lord.
I have no objection. State your amended testimony now.
There's no possible way I could have transported the victim's corpse back to Britain. But I don't. What's the fucking evidence?
Well,
Because like I would immediately think either the trunk. I would immediately think his trunk would be like the major one.
how
Yeah.
can you show it then?
But like the trunk isn't one of our evidence pieces, though.
Is it though?
Are we saying Gregson's trunk at that point?
No. So we're implying that you want to show the trunk, right?
Yeah.
Oh wait, don't you have a photo?
Ah.
Objection.
Okay.
Innocent photo, I see.
There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible for you to do, the transporting of Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do!
What are you talking about, Ryunosuke?
I'm about to show you right fucking now, as well as for being a judge, Mr. Jijoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched when he enters the country. We learnt of this when we first met you upon your arrival in London.
I actually forgot about this conversation.
He was in that trunk the entire goddamn time. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
you think about it.
Yeah, like, oh.
Nobody could smell the goddamn body rotting away or anything like that? No? Alright. I presume
Well,
it's really tight. It's a really tight case, okay?
it's a really tight case if this was also the next day.
True, okay, but still, like, some form of decomposing would, I think, be starting at that point, you know? I presume
Okay.
you recall this, Judge Shigoku?
I think they explain it, so.
It's a photograph we took in the Foyer Hotel to mark the occasion. As the court will note, you have a large travel trunk. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside!
Mr. Naruhodo, surely you're not suggesting...
I'm afraid I am, yes. 3 days ago, when we were chatting innocently with the new arrivals from Japan in the hotel, the body of the Inspector Gregson was meatlessly away from us inside Judge Shigoku's trunk!
That's a very gruesome thought.
Exactly. It's just like,
It's a very gruesome thought that he was inside that trunk and he was also in the trunk when you took the picture. Order! Order! Order in the court! I'm skeptical, counsel, that a grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk.
I could.
It could.
Because I happen to know the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside the trunk! And verifying this would be extremely simple, wouldn't it, Judge Chijoku?
Get in the trunk, man.
Get in the motherfucking trunk, Judge!
But inside his trunk? How horrifying!
And after we'd spoken with the Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit a parent's scene on Frenzo Street. Taking your trunk to the cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense! Dr. Gory, the coroner who examined the body, has confirmed the possibility. She's acknowledged that there are signs that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death.
Oh wait, there's one hole in this thing that Navajo has to clear up. It just popped into my brain.
Yeah. The onset that the body's decomposition could have been delayed by storing it in a refrigerator.
Counsel, as I remembered explaining yesterday, refrigerators are the requisite size are few and far between.
Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on a large ocean liner. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh for long sea voyages. And the SS Bruce is no exception. Professor Mikatoba told me about it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. All the evidence points to you being the killer! Well, this is all very heartening. I can see that it was a wise move letting Asogi and you embark on this study tour.
What are you talking about now?
Logical reasoning, of course. All court proceedings will be built on logical reasoning in the new century. And I can see that you both laid firm foundations for that already.
Judge Goku, please, stop diverting attention from the issue at hand.
I'm complimenting you!
That's the point.
We really don't like compliments in court, as the prosecution has shown us at this point, so that won't work on us.
The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond?
Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there?
Why ever not?
Because before you can even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. The actual scene of the crime.
The prosecutor's stance is unaltered. The killing took place on Frizzle Street when the gunshot was heard. As the accused, Baroque Van Zeeks, shot the victim at point-blank range.
Oh, how fucking odd.
Since no tangible evidence exists to disprove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense's deduction amount to little more than an elaborate fairy tale.
I'm afraid that's how logical reasoning works in the British are known for really works, young stripling. The victim was shot in that little room on Frenzo Street and died instantly. I'm afraid it's the prosecution's claim that's the only fairy tale here.
How can you say that?
Quite simply, because that claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in our possession.
Very tantalizing, counsel. I think you had better explain yourself to the court, don't you?
The prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was shot on the scene in Frenzo Street. But this evidence clearly contradicts that claim.
Say first.
Yeah.
Give me the safe file mistake.
Evidence clearly contradicts that claim. Would it be the chest at that point?
I'm trying to remember. Why was the death considered undetermined?
Because the refrigeration.
No, that's Clint's
yeah, that's the
Autopsy
wrong one.
Report.
Well, it was initially because,
Yeah, that's the thing was we thought that it took place somewhere else on another day because the pocket watch was still set to 5 o'clock, and that was presumably the time of what we thought was the time of death, but now it was unknown.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the evidence myself.
My only thing would make me be the chest. That would be the only thing I could think of.
Can you pull history up again?
Prosecution claims that Inspector Gregson died instantly when he was fired with a shot.
Yeah, so I guess you have to prove why it wouldn't be. Oh wait, I think. Can you check the print of the map again? I think it might actually be the photograph.
Because
Does it look like a person that got shot?
No, not at all. Kind of deal.
I think. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yay.
Yeah, nice.
I remember I got stuck on this one too.
Now, game. Why is it this? A photograph of the victim in the very location you claim he wasn't killed?
Yes, but the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it's out of question that his body would be curled up into a ball like that. Objection! I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. He could easily have adopted the fetal position due to the pain of the shot beat, which subsequently proved fatal.
That's not possible because
I'm sorry.
You're still claiming it was instant death.
Yeah, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Shigoku, but your logic is flawed. What? According to the autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less have been able to draw himself into that position. Ugh. Which begs the question why the victim's body is curled up in that way. Though an answer should be abundantly clear by now.
You're suggesting
The inspector's body took that posture because its arrival in Frenzo Street before it was coldly turned onto the floor from the large inside of the travel trunk.
no.
You're quite right. The shape of this body looks exactly as if it's been kept in a confined space.
Judge Jigoku, present your truck for examination! I believe it's very possible that it contains traces of the victim's blood! Ugh! Present my trunk! I refuse!
What?
On what grounds? I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put up with this treatment just because of some stripling, baseless accusations!
In other words, Judge Jigoku, there is blood in your trunk! Sir!
I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges that...
See, Brandon, now you're coming from earlier. It's starting to come this way.
At this moment, you're not a government minister. You are a witness in the trial of Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status is outside this courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Ugh!
Not everyone gets the option out of being killed.
He's right though.
Order! Order in court! Well, Mr. Jigoku, you can't be serious. You did it?
Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Asogi?
What?
Very well, I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into this country. Inside my trunk, exactly as postulated by the defense. What?
You... Dear God! Outrageous!
So it was you! You admit... No! I admit nothing more than what I said! Of killing that man, I certainly have no recollection.
What on earth is that cryptic statement supposed to mean?
I merely disposed of the inspector's body which was left in my cabin, in order to avoid unwanted attention. As the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to overthrow it into the ocean. So, I declared my only option was to bring it to Britain with me and dispose of it somewhere else. You still can't deny it! If you did do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. That's right! Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Asogi!
You... I never thought you'd stoop to this, Sechiro Jigoku.
You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, Prosecutor Kazuma Asogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, didn't you?
Well, the prosecutor counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness's cabin on the night in question.
Yes, on an assassination mission no less.
You wouldn't...
So, what do you make of that, young stripling? Have you heard my testimony now? And that's all I have to say on the matter. I'll admit to nothing more.
I don't believe this.
Counsel for the defense. What is your position now? The court awaits your response to the witness's assertion.
Jigoku really did pull. Who's a little bitch now?
Yeah.
He pulled a no you.
Uno reverse card.
The assertion that on the night in question, the victim's assailant was in fact Mr. Kazuma Asogi.
This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer's right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them had the opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did. And I'm just a step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put by Judge Shidoku. The idea that the victim's murder could have been permitted by Prosecutor Asogi is... I'd say impossible? Judge Shigoku, let me remind you of something you said a few minutes ago. You claim the logical reasoning is the future of the judicial process. It is, no question. Well, logical reasoning can prove something here. Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Asogi to commit the crime. What?
I hear boss music. Anyone else hear that?
Where's that coming from?
Iris.
Iris got the beatbox ready to go.
Shows is dancing.
Prelude to Pursuit plays. Ah, shit. You got it now.
Oh no. The court will only accept an argument that is supported by compelling evidence. So present what you have, counsel. What proof is there that the allegedly demonstrates the possibility of Prosecutor Asogi's involvement?
Why is this music coming out of the stuff funny? Would it be Kazuma's sword?
I'm trying to remember myself too. Shit.
Kurama, the great blade. It's such a thing of beauty. I want to gaze on it for hours.
Oh wait, hang on.
Tip of the great sword, broken. Such a shame. It's so miraculously cared for over the years.
It might be the sword, because no matter where Gregson died, how he died is still the same. He was still shot.
Yeah. I can almost hear Kurama's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing when that happened. Yeah, I think it's gotta be Kurama. It's gotta be... It's either that or the case, because it has the...
Take that!
You pick it! You're making the evidence weep here, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Sorry?
The music stopped too! That's just great! It's like, wow, bro, really?
Damn, bro, you got the whole squad laughing.
Wow, bro, you got the whole... Wow, bro, you made the whole band stop.
You made the boss music stop, for the love of God. Wow, fucking amateur.
Ooh, amateur hour over here. Every piece of evidence has a role to play in arriving at the truth. They're not playing things you can toss around the courtroom for entertainment.
Namely, my goddamn sword.
How dare you use my sword?
Never mind the evidence, Mr. Naruhodo. You're about to make me weep.
Oh no, I can't upset Sasada-san, or I'll end up being upset too!
Alright, boss music back on! The boss music is back!
As long as the car was there, it would have been impossible to fire a gun without. It very much narrows down how the crime could have been committed. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. So it's gotta be something about sound that drowned it out, sort of deal.
In memory serves, there was one thing that they was pointed out by Sean when they were inspecting the room. That
Oh, the clothes in there, yeah. Oh, but how do I, with the evidence I have, how do I prove that?
That's a good question.
How do I prove that with the evidence I got?
Okay, Check maybe the trunk? It has blood. I don't know. Maybe because it has the blood on the side?
Sword on!
Oh, you know what? Just try it.
What?
Wait. What was it?
The itinerary?
Because he had it? Well,
Wait,
we're
hang
about
on.
to find out.
Wait, hang on. Okay, let's... Alright.
This itinerary for the crew members on the SS Groose, my lord, is conclusive proof.
An itinerary? How does that prove anything?
Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly becomes much more significant. What? Why? On the night in question, as always, a crewman sentry was on guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside your cabin.
Absolutely, because it's inconceivable that the guard would have heard it and come to investigate.
So it tells us that the crime must have taken place when the guard was somewhere else. And that narrowed down to 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock as indicated by the itinerary.
Yes, I see no flaw in your reasoning so far.
But the crucial point is this. When the evacuation drill took place, the steamship had already put to sea from port of Dunkirk.
Jojo, we're about to nail Jigoku over here for the murder of Tobias Gregson.
Now, clearly the murder could have been committed by someone who was aboard the vessel at the time. But Prosecutor Sogi stated in yesterday's proceedings.
Okay, good. that makes sense. Shit.
What? Of how the evidence links up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm sure the court will agree is conclusive proof that Kazuma Sogi couldn't possibly have carried out the killing! Gah!
Wait, I missed it. What was the connection that actually made it logical?
Because the sailor saw Kazuma leave the port.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That good point.
Yeah, the sailor was important.
Yeah, the sailor saw him leave, so
Yeah.
the sailor saw him leave, and kind of signed a document that they can also find that proves where he was.
No, absolutely not! I don't accept it at all! What do you mean? The boy's just saying that to exaggerate himself. We cannot trust him. He really disembarked the vessel. Obviously, after I left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby the ship. Just waiting for his chance to finish the... No, that's out of question. Isn't it, Kazuma?
As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in a boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify, and undeniable proof.
No, There's no escape this time! You can forfeit that you're a judge or a government minister! It's time you gave the court an honest answer, as a common man! Killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body into a room on Frenzo Street and made it look like the murder happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seshiro Jigoku? It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when this all began. Looking back now, my fate was decided that day. I was doomed already. It's over! My life is over.
Where your anger is so raw that it makes everything around you ascend. It makes the very object around you go, oh, I gotta get out of here!
A British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange request arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain, and you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement, because I was already on my way to Britain at the time in Kazuma's place. And that left me with only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself, personally. Of course, there was but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Science Symposium, I presume. That's right. I decided it would be the safest way to carry out my plan before my arrival in Britain. So I enlisted the help of my British counterpart, and made arrangements for pretext that would take place in Inspector to Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. What? The Reaper?
But there's only one person who could have done that. The mastermind of the entire operation. The Reaper himself.
So, that means that the assassination exchange was... It was all planned by the Reaper!
I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterpart. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin on the steamship.
Oh no, Jojo, that ship hasn't sailed yet. That's still very much on the table. But right now we know who actually killed him.
Yeah, but it was all a trap designed to lead him to France and to his own death.
Oh, how awful.
It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from the dining hall that evening. I didn't give him much time to attack me. I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time, waiting. For the 20 minutes after 10 o'clock, I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move.
Choked him. Ugh.
Ugh. I mean, he's got very big hands to do so. I received the British issue gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have a use for something like that.
So the revolver belongs to you, does it?
Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on the SS Bruce. Which begs the question of why you arranged his body to be discovered in the room on Frenzo Street. The young man judicial assistant over there has already answered the question. There was no way I could put the body up on the deck and overthrow it on the side. That's precisely where all the crewmen were gathered for an evacuation drill. So before the first-class cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. And then arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps if the police were to be convinced that the body was found in London.
In that case, you must have known. You must have had you must have you must have had intimate details of Inspector Greggson's intended schedule.
Yes, my British counterpart sent me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due in Frenzo Street at 5 o'clock that afternoon, in order to meet with a man by the name of Hugh Bone, from whom he would take back his police identification. I decided that that man would be the perfect person to set up as the culprit, so I took a hackery carriage over with the body still in my trunk. That must have been just after we took this photograph with you at the hotel then. Yes, I wasn't expecting a welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. On Frenzo Street, I spotted a young girl selling little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived the candle trick there and then. And I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy enough firecrackers to replicate a gunshot.
What sort of disguise?
For some reason, the inspector had brought on a red hairpiece of his own traveling case. So I put that on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself than I would have otherwise.
The hairpiece was found at the scene. The inspector had it ready for the red-headed League investigation.
I only arrived in the room around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor and moved the notice board and set up my little candle trick. I arranged so the firecracker would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later.
So that Mr. Boone, who was due to arrive at 5, was walked straight into a trap?
Except, at that last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that?
I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips.
Good old fish and chips. Saving the day.
I didn't notice it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket following the morning, but... well, it seems the warmth of the heated cabin accelerated the decay of the fish. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did.
I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For a crime of such a vile nature, can expect the most severe penalty.
An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea.
Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you can say makes matters any worse for you. Just tell us! Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say.
Even though as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again.
What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it. I'm finished.
Then, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson.
Burn.
Wait, but that means guilty. What?
Senshibu Jigoku, it is the opinion of this court that you should be found guilty. And may have abide all those present of the strict confidentiality demanded by this court, this closed court. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence has therefore been established beyond doubt.
Okay, I know that it's probably possible that they pretty much just replaced the table, but I like to imagine they have to switch courtrooms after that.
Alright, everybody move out one courtroom. We're just gonna mosey our way to the end of this one just so we have a little stand. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the other one? We'll get a new one later.
We were prepared for this.
How wonderful. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo.
We never expected
Yes.
wood to just ascend.
Yes, thank you.
Is something wrong?
I'm just a little troubled by his silence.
Oh.
The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey, and this extraordinary assassin's change. We do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, insofar as the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion.
I haven't done this voice in a bit, so I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor.
As you wish. Now, for the formal adjudication. I hereby declare the defendant Baroque Von Zeeks.
God fucking damn it!
Oh god, here he goes.
Oh boy.
I'm not done. The prosecution calls for an adjudication to be deferred. Counsel? The accused's innocence hasn't been fully established at all, and therefore it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. That is the prosecution's unwavering position.
What?
But Judge Goku has already confessed.
Nevertheless, Baroque Von Zeeks has committed crimes for which he must be punished. Well, would appear you have information that the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Senshibu Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness's testimony that he was coerced into complying with the plot. Into this sick, merciless assassin exchange.
That may be true, but...
So what I want to know is, who coerced Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? The victim would go eat a chicken, Kazuma. The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, The mastermind behind the assassin exchange is someone in a position to give such an order. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man in the dock, Baruch Van Zeeks, of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, I'm going to prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt.
What?
Yeah.
Order! 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 The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Are you suggesting you have some new information with which to build a case?
Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zeeks very thoroughly in that regard. And they found no evidence whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he is the Reaper.
Perhaps, but circumstances have now changed.
What do you mean?
It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself. Which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. That is the prosecution's intention here.
I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenaciously you appear to want to wrench me my name.
You are guilty of an unforgettable crime, Lord Van Zeeks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes.
That explained Kazuma's silence before. We'll stop at nothing to finish what Lord Von Zeeks unwittingly started 10 years ago.
Very well. While it's extremely irregular, I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity for witness testimony. The defendant will disclose any and all involvement he had with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. I hereby declare Case 5 to be in session!
That was perfectly timed! God dang it!
Pray turn a blind eye to this courtesy as I verify this vile and unrelenting accusation hasn't soured the contents of my hallowed chalice. Lord Von Zeeks! I first had to suffer the symposium of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I endured the weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all.
By the way, I got a BRB again, so...
Alright. Good. Then let justice decide, Lord Von Zeeks. The prosecution seeks to begin building a case by calling the accused to the stand as the primary witness, in order that he may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. And what says the defense?
Putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous. And Kazuma-sama is so emotional at the moment, he's not thinking logically.
You're right about that, he's not himself. But I knew it would be like this. And it came here totally determined to face him through whatever might arise. As a lawyer, and as his friend.
And that's what we must do.
The defense has no objections, my lord! Very well, defendant. You will take the witness stand and give a formal testimony on the subject of your involvement with the Reaper and the assassination exchange. As you wish, my lord. Gotta take a big old leap of water.
Drinking from the hollow chalice.
Because there's been a lot of deep voices tonight that I've had to do on this one. Good God. Oh God, and we're still not at fucking Allegro music, my God. I've never taken a life for another, nor have I been instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I'm aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason why I went to Frenzel Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, or Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there is no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassination exchange. So you deny all accusations made by the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey, and that you're the mastermind behind the assassination exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believes me to be the Reaper. However, that's a fallacy, which I alone am in the position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes that the testimony given by the accused to be untrue. Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Yes? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? A desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves your client to be guilty. From all my experience in this courtroom, I've come to realize something. The truth cannot be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in the pursuit of truth. I want you to remember what you just said. Enough distillery chatter. Counsel for the defense, proceed to cross-examine the witness. Yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know you're just wanting to point it out. The contradiction, you convinced lies somewhere within this man's testimony. Okay. Never taken a life. I have never been instructed to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I'm aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason I went to Frenzel Street that day, and now I came to discover the body. The point is, there's no...
Hold it!
There's a link between you and Gregson, though. Of course. We were close acquaintances. We worked on numerous cases together. I consider the man to be a mentor of sorts. He taught me a number of important lessons. He did? Such as what? Where to buy good fish and chips, and such like. Well, that was convincing.
Yo, fam.
He also very much taught me the phrase of "what are you buying?" I used it as a good haggling exchange when down at the market. Dr. Wilson was a coroner, of course, but that was some time in the past. And in any case, I understand it was several years ago now that he was invited to work at a Japanese university. That's right. He was a visiting professor at the Imperial Yumi University in Tokyo. It should be unambiguously clear then that no link exists between myself and him. In other words, I had no motive for sending some assassin across the oceans to kill the man. It sounds plausible enough and I want to believe it, but something about this just doesn't sit right with me.
Hold it!
Certainly as it stands, there's no evidence to suggest that you constigated the scheme.
Objection!
But that's its
No,
stand. As it stands, we only have the accused's instance of his innocence. Sorry? Perhaps there's something that you would like to explain how the mastermind in this assassin exchange, and the reason it could be established later in the proceedings. Then the accused claim in this testimony that he wasn't involved would amount to perjury. Well, yes, that's true, but...
Clearly, Kazuma-sama intends to identify a reason and use it to make his case.
So if we don't identify something first,
He'll gain the advantage.
this could be dangerous. Convincing testimony by Lord Von Zeeks.
Certainly, with no apparent connections between the three men, there's no way to establish a motive. The testimony seems unassailable as far as I can see. Oh dear me, what a bleak expression.
I agree, there doesn't appear to be any particular link between them at first glance. But with the inclusion of one other person, must be overthinking it, surely.
Another person, Mr. Naruhodo.
I need to think back over all the information we've gleaned so far.
Alright, and I'll review my notes about the case, all the evidence in the court records.
Could it be that Lord Von Zeeks has something to hide after all? Okay, so it's absolutely this statement. Full stop.
I don't think that when Susanoo said that, I'm back by the way. I don't think that when Susanoo said that, like, Naruhodo was glaring at her. Well, like glaring in her direction, but not at her. She just went, oh my!
Oh dear.
I'm sorry, you caught me in my thinking state.
So no conflict exists between...
Because, I have, like, a few people tell me that when I am deep in thought, I look really bothered by something. Because sometimes when I'm working on something, I'm really deep into it. My mother, and some of my friends ask me, hey, are you okay? I'm just like, oh yeah, no, I'm just concentrating.
Yep.
Does it say broke?
No, but here's the thing, Asogi on there. And who... I think it's...
But does it imply a common thread with the Sogi? It's looking for a thread between Gregson, him, and Wilson.
Oh, wait. Boom.
Objection!
Nice. What is this? An autopsy report? Wait. This is 10 years old. From the autopsy of Lord Clint Von Zeeks.
What? My brother's autopsy report?
I'm pleased to see that the face doesn't intend to run from the undeniable truth. Order in the court! What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report here, counsel?
This is the autopsy report of the professor's final victim. It is an undeniable link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant. Not that accursed name again, Professor.
I personally researched all the court records relating to that case. Oh my. I know that at the time, autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's soul. And for a member of the aristocracy like Lord Cliff Von Zeeks, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers that be to allow the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure.
And it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. His signature is clearly visible on the document.
As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Jason, do you need to blow your nose or anything like that?
No, I'm just having nose issues.
Okay.
No amount of blowing my nose will fix this.
Evidence
I just
that...
have stuffed up nose.
Evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Asogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his strength, ready to leave that vital clue behind.
Indeed, that was the key to the
indicting.
That was the key to the indicting the professor for his crimes and the conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord von Zixian to avenge his brother's senseless death. What a marvelous victory in court. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true.
What?
Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer and send him to his death.
That's outrageous!
And now, 10 years later, for some reason, the secret has been threatened and needs protecting. Which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced, isn't it? By someone in power in Japan and in Britain, using the two killers recruited for the assassin exchange. Order! Order at once! 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I prove it. Which is why I had to come to Britain, whatever the cost.
You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to toast in this vengeful Nipponese tendency or purpose here. However, he fails to squash his emotions in the courtroom, has failed as a lawyer. Come on, Kazuma, you know this won't wash! You're claiming that your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago! You must see without evidence that's nothing more than a wild accusation!
As it happened, I have evidence.
What?!
As the court has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him with the pretext of being the assassin recruited to kill Sechiro Jigoku. But my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth.
What truth?
The truth about the evidence, and he acknowledged what I had already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in that autopsy 10 years ago.
What? What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret!
Chat, could you hear Patrick?
What?
I just want to check in on that.
Yeah,
What?
I didn't hear through Discord, so...
Oh, Maybe Discord just booted out at that point? But I can see my audio levels in OBS, so...
Okay, I'm guessing it's a Discord thing.
Yeah, I think it
Okay,
was just a
that-
Discord
yeah,
thing.
right.
Okay.
Alright, just checking.
Yeah.
While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword, Karuma, before the inspector's eyes.
That's dangerous.
He very quickly understood what my true motive was. One more time! What are you buying? Right. I see. You're that Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? You're gonna cut me down with that thing, is that it? That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth. That's all. Before we get into it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So, you admit it then. The evidence used in my father's trial was fabricated! It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders. Orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it. That's right. Even then.
So that's when the tip of the sword broke.
Oh, Kazuma-sama.
If the result of Cliff Von Zeke's autopsy were fabricated, then the investigating officer, Gregson, and the lead coroner, Wilson, must have known about it. And they can only have been ordered to pervert the course of justice in that way by one man. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Baroque Von Zeeks. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize this exchange of assassins. Exactly. And as was established earlier, it has to have been the Reaper himself who liaised with Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be that of the man who stands accused in the courtroom today, Baroque Von Zeeks.
Objection!
Kazuma Sogi.
What?
What you just told the court, are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago?
I heard it with my own ears. His shameful admission.
In that case, I know. The name of the Reaper.
What? What?
Lord Von Zeeks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down the remaining possibilities to one. If Lord Von Zeeks isn't the one behind all of this, then yes, there's only one other person could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is too.
You?
I just had a feeling that name was going to come up. The true identity of the infamous Reaper of the Bailey is... Okay. I'm just trying to work down the name. Is it gotta be Strongheart at that point?
Take that!
Yep. The only person who could have arranged the assassination exchange and manipulated the autopsy reports is Lord Chief Justice himself! Lord Mal Strongheart!
What? Lord Strongheart?
Yes, it's true 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court. But he only overtook the case after his brother Lord Clint von Zietz had been killed.
I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history.
Well, Lord von Zietz, 10 years ago, I was very new to my profession. But I had a burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the Lords to allow my brother's corpse to be examined. All the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it came from you. I spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood at my side to let me handle the trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the inspector and coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And the same force still felt a decade later since on the other side of the world by Seshiro Jigoku. Lord Strongheart, everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper of the Bailey! The court awaits for your response, my lord. This very may well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense.
It doesn't warrant a response. A formal accusal? Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best.
You're not going to defend yourself?
You claim there was some wrongdoing with Lord Clint von Zietz on autopsy? That's utterly untrue.
Objection.
But I heard it from Grace's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Greg's is dead now. Unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand.
Yeah, let's get some spirit mediums up in here.
You mean to say... I forgot how the system works in your little backwater country. But in the courts of the British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of entertaining some wild fantasy that can possibly be sustained by anyone or anything. That. Order! Order in the court! Following the Inspector Briggs' murder, and in light of Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there?
So that was the real purpose of the assassination exchange.
This court has no business raking over the coils of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal brought by the prosecution and the defense is categorically denied. I take it there are no objections.
Kazuma, he's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do now? Is there no other avenue we can go down to pursue this truth of what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Von Zeke's autopsy. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks, even so far as to dispatch an assassin all the way around to Japan to ensure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Seif won't say anything about Strongheart. But there's one ray of hope.
Objection!
Actually, there is one person. One person who can still testify about the autopsy!
Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left. Who? Ryunosuke. Who? Tell me!
Kazuma,
Please! This trial can't end! Not yet!
I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person the defense would like to call to the stand to testify to the autopsy about Clint Von Zeeks is...
Take that!
Heaven help us. Another Japanese?
Why do you say it like that?
An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Yuji Mikotoba, 16 years ago. He came to London with Seshiro Jigoku and Genshin Asogi as a visiting student.
And what could his testimony possibly tell us?
Professor Mikotoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person that actually penned the reports.
Incorrect! The autopsy was carried out by the coroner, Dr. Wilson. The report carries his signature.
It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it.
In other words, Professor Mikotoba has witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The defense demands that Professor Mikotoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in that autopsy lab 10 years ago is something only he can tell us.
The defense's demand is denied.
What?
But Professor Mikotoba is in London at this very moment! We can summon him in the stand in minutes!
No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too connected, he's too concerned about protecting himself.
Prosecutor Asogi, let me refresh your memory, as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you were accused of the defendant of being the Reaper and of masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So present your evidence for those claims and make your case complete. At this time, I don't have the requisite evidence, but that's exactly why we need witness testimony! The professor case is closed. There are no clues in the distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Asogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as I stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion with respect to the matter at hand. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seshiro Jigoku. As for any hidden circumstances that may exist, they will be investigated in due course by the proper authorities.
Objection!
But we know what will happen! That'll just give the mastermind a whole venture time to cover its tracks again!
By which you mean me. Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Asogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. And this futile game of revenge is over, young Master Asogi. Now, that will be all. I hereby declare this trial to be over. Court is...
Mr. Schultz?
This is no place for an amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public. You will leave the courtroom at once.
Mr. Sholmes was instrumental to the apprehension of Mr. Seshiro Jigoku before he fled from Europe. This court should hear what he has to say.
Lord Bell Strongheart, it's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And why would that be? You need only recall your own words for the opening of the trial to answer that question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered! It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at this juncture? After all, why have you been invited to attend? To not along to the pre-verification of your superiors? Order! Order in court! It seems to me that we stand before a door that leads to a new era of legal practices. A door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reapers, decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors in the gallery have no right to express an opinion on court proceedings. Silence!
He's right, the judge has absolute authority here.
Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end.
But will that really do?
Since dark things occurring behind the scenes, dark things indeed.
Is there a single person here present who can also say he doesn't sense the same?
What?
The trial should go on! Summon the witness!
That's right, we need to clear this up before that young Japanese man wrests custody!
My lord, you said those presents would be uncovered the whole truth here!
Vindicate yourself of this outlandish accusation!
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth! That's the very foundation of British law! A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. On with the trial! On with the trial! Testify! Testify! Testify!
Well, my lord. You hear the voice of British justice, I take it? I think you'll find it. I think you find it will be rather awkward to silence. court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Bailiff, arrange for the supporting of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courthouse, we shall reconvene. A recess won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Migatomo is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today and is waiting at the antechamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? Professor Migatomo is here in this courthouse?
Mr. Sholmes, you didn't know this was gonna happen, did you?
My dear fellow, no one is in a better position to answer that question than you, surely.
I wasn't just asking for the fun of it, you know.
Well, I must thank you for your assistance in this matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are of no further use here. Kindly leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I find myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo!
Yes?
I trust you have Iris's little lucky charm with you?
Absolutely! I still have it in my pocket!
She sends her regards, and a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the ears are at your disposal. Just one tug, if you please.
Oh, of course!
In that case, the trial will continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witches to the stand!
So, it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly this trial is going to take me, I wonder. Just how deep am I going to be plunged into the blackness of the abyss? Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of this maelstrom and confront whatever horrors it tries to drown me under. Alright!
Alright!
Let's see, we indicted a Japanese judge, we realized Quarter of the Reaper, and yeah.
So, now, at this point, Act 3 is gonna be happening Sunday at this point. Probably at 6 again, because we're gonna want time for the finale, because we're gonna have a lot to talk about after that, kind of deal.
Oh, we will. We will have much to discuss.
Alright, well, only one more session to go, guys. Thank you all for watching. I very much look forward to the ending of this game. I can't wait, so.
We've been waiting a whole year for this!
Yep. We will see you Sunday. Have a good night.
Yeah.